All right, Mr. Spears, if you will please say the invocation for us.
Father God, we come to you this evening, Lord, and praying, Lord, your guidance in the meeting here today. We pray that you guide the decisions that are being made, that they be for the benefit of this county and the betterment of the people therein. Lord, just lead us and guide us in the way you'd have us to go. We ask it all in the sweet name of Jesus. Amen.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Judge Jones.
Here.
Commissioner Scott.
Here.
Commissioner Akins.
Here.
Commissioner Blackburn.
Here.
We have a quorum and we are ready to proceed. I'd like to ask Colonel Downey if he would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Next item is the approval of the minutes of the April 18th, 2023 meeting of the Pike County Fiscal Court. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Atkins. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Scott. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Scott.
Yes.
Commissioner Akins.
Yes.
Commissioner Blackburn.
Yes.
Judge Jones.
Yes. Next item is the, I'm going to just skip over the, I'm going to skip down to the third item just so we get out of the way. Colonel, would you please come up and give us the first reading of the 2023-2024 proposed budget ordinance?
Here again, for you folks watching, I'm not going to read this whole thing. It's 40-some pages. We're going to hit the highlights. If you need a copy of this, please call us, and we will get you email, whatever. We can get a copy out.
Copies are available in the county judge's office.
All right. Proposed budget revenues for the Pike County Fiscal Court. This is the first reading of the fiscal year 2023-2024. There are projected revenues of $74,735,907 million. That money is from taxes, fees, grants, all these sources of income. The expenditures are the exact same thing. And that is where most of your budget actually is where the money actually gets spent. So if you're getting, your court is managing $74,735,907.
All right, thank you, sir. So that is the first reading of the 2023-2024 fiscal year budget. It will be ready for action at the next court meeting after we have advertised the budget and the hearings for LGEA and the other, what's the other fund, Frankie, we have to advertise? LGEA and county, is it County Road Aid? County Road Aid. Okay, so we'll have this budget done second meeting of the month. So, all right. Colonel, could you come up and explain the reapportionment procedure for us?
All right, reapportionment by statute. KRS 67.045 governs how we have to go about reapportioning the commissioner's district. First thing we've got to do is we've got to publish a notice of reapportionment. It's got to be done for 7 days minimum before we can take it back up. So the next time we could probably discuss this would be our meeting on the 16th. The commission will be composed of County Clerk Darrell Pugh, who is non-voting. There have to be 3 individuals selected. They must be over 21 in each, and one person from each of the 3 commissioner districts. They will be the voting members that have to sit down and decide what the jurisdictions will look like. Tim Fields, of course, is going to assist in the mapping and that kind of stuff and be an asset. He's got a preliminary map that he's put out that shows the precincts. It also shows where the commissioners currently live and those type things. My recommendation would be that when we come back to the meeting on the 16th, that the court appoint the 3 commissioners. We swear them in. Once they're sworn in, they get 60 days to compile their report, and that report is presented to you, the members of the fiscal court, and the county clerk, Darrell Pugh. Once the committee comes back with their recommendations. It's then the court has 60 days to either approve it or amend it.
So, looking at the map that Tim has put together from GIS, we're probably gonna have to see if there's additional data that we can pull together at the precinct level. I'm not sure, Tim, did this come from the ad district, these numbers? We might want to pull in make sure that our precinct numbers are right from the ad district. There is the numbers have to be plus or minus 5% per district. And right now, there's an imbalance. For instance, District 1, which is represented by Commissioner Scott, these are 2020 population numbers of 22,504.
Judge, I think it's 10%. I could be wrong, but my research says it's 10% between the high and the low.
The way it was done in Frankfurt was on the legislative reapportionment.
Yours is, those are a little bit
The
different.
10%, I think, is plus or minus 5%. You've got a range.
The guidance I got from our guy in Frankfurt tells me, Keiko, Rich, that it's, and I've got the court cases and the Attorney General opinion. Well, I mean, it's something we can
We need
discuss.
to look at those, but it's my understanding, because this came up at the conference that we were in, that we were told plus or minus 5%, which is a 10% variation, but it's plus or minus 5% from the target.
Right.
So once, if you take 58,669, Tim, what is that divided by 3? What's the target?
19,556, I believe.
So you've got 19,556 is what, so.
And our current
clearly-
variance is 24.99%.
What's that?
The current variance between the largest and the smallest is 24.99. Configured the way that I was given from KCO to do it. Now, it could be wrong, but that's a big number.
Well, they covered this at the last, let me see if I've got it here. Bear with me for a second. We took pictures of the slides. And I've got, and I'll share these slides with you, Roy, just so, yeah, here, I can show it to you. The nearly as equal as possible, the population of districts can vary by plus or minus 5%. And I'll text this to you right now so you'll have it. But this was the information that we were given. So the 10% it's not plus or minus 10% because that would be a 20% variance.
It's, the 10% comes in when you you take and subtract the lowest district from the highest district, and that gives you a number. You take that number against what the ideal number would be, and that gives you the percentage of your variance.
No, here's what you have.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure because I've looked at the statutes and I went through this. The plus or minus 5% is plus or minus 5% of the target. So the districts have to be as close to that 19,000 and change as possible, but they can't go over or above that 19,000 range by more than or less than 5%.
Well, Judge, I will double check my stuff and we can talk, but
I
it really
just
doesn't
sent
affect how we need to get it going.
Well, so, and we can deal with those numbers, but, we do have, it's clear that we've got one district that's way under that 19,000 number. For instance, District number 2 is probably within 5%. Or it's close to it anyway. But clearly, there's a, roughly 5,000 vote difference or resident difference between districts 1 and 3. So, what you're going to end up seeing is, District 3 is going to have to pick up more people. How we go about doing that obviously is up to the commission. But I sent you that text message just now with that.
I think I left my phone in there. I mean, it's something we need to make sure before we swear the guys in and send them to work, but it's something we can take a good hard look at.
Because, like I said, I made screenshots of all these statutes and stuff, and I'll be happy to share these with you.
When I actually have all the statutes that go with this right here, plus the guidance from CAECO. So, I mean, that's what I'm using, so I guess we just need to figure out which one of our sources has got the better.
Well, this came directly from the presentation on redistricting. So, with all due regard to Mr. Ornstein,
Okay, he could be wrong. I could be wrong for following him.
he knows his information. I mean, he's very knowledgeable, but I can tell you that this came directly from was it KCJEA, Reggie, or this is the county judge executive or county, this is one of the seminars we had in Lexington this year that's got all, the first step is you got to meet with the committee. I'll send you all these and you can walk through them and see. But one of the main things is, whether you're reapportioning legislative boundaries or you're reapportioning commissioner or magistrate districts, the law is the same because it's one man, one vote, or one person, one vote, because you have the notion that if you have fewer people in a district than another district, technically each person has more voting power than the person in the district with more people.
And my understanding is that none of the statutes quantify that. What they do is it's court cases, and then the Attorney General is the one that come out with the opinion. It was my understanding of how that worked for the 10%. He issued an opinion based on the court cases because there's been the statute, I don't believe, defines a specific number. But that's something we can definitely go back and look at.
If you look at the slide I sent you, for instance, say you give an example. County X has a population of 25,000 in 5 districts. So the balanced population will be 5,000 people in each district. The minimum number that a district could have is 4,750 people. And the maximum, the 5% over that balanced number, is 5,250. So, like I said, I'll be happy. And this came from the Bluegrass Area Development District because they put all the slides together. And that's why the ads, we need to make sure we've got the ad involved in this, Tim. And make sure that the data that we're using in these numbers is accurate. Okay, I just want to make sure though that we get with the ad district because the ad districts do play a role in this. So, but Roy, I'll be happy to let you look at these, and I sent you the one on the
right.
plus or minus 5%. So,
Judge, I'll look at. I didn't bring my phone in here because I tend to leave it out so it don't go off on us. Or don't go off on me.
So at the next meeting, we need to be prepared to nominate or name 3 commissioners.
Yes, and swear them in so their 60 days will start.
And it needs to be people that are not affiliated with anybody. We need to make sure that they're, people that are sophisticated enough that can understand this, that we need to make sure there's one from each district. Because, it's somewhat technical. There are some limitations in this information on what you can do about splitting precincts. I think there may even be a prohibition against, like you couldn't have half of a precinct in District 2 and half of a precinct in District 1. It's either got to be all or none. So, because it does play a role in the, that's correct. That's correct. So, So, but next, at the next meeting, we need to have 3 commissioners ready on the redistrict. 1 from each district, so. It's a citizen from each district. It can't be a member of the court. So, that's right. All right. Thanks, sir. All right. The next item is appointment of a committee to present recommendations to the fiscal court for the use of funds received from the National Opioid Settlement. We've got, what, roughly $1 million so far, Frankie, on that settlement? 890,000. There are parameters on how that money can be spent. It's ultimately our decision. What I would propose is that we form and nominate or authorize a committee comprising of the Commonwealth Attorney as chair, Pike County Attorney or his designee, myself, one of the commissioners, Sheriff Scott, Jailer Brian Morris, representative of the Health Department, representative of the Board of Education, representative of Addiction Recovery Care, West Care, and Operation Unite. Give us recommendations. Obviously, they're not binding recommendations, but I think we need to look at what the needs are and where we can spend the money within the mandate of the legislation that they passed in Frankfurt, saying how the money can be spent. That way, you know, one of the things I served on the task force on recovery-ready communities, and one of the things I'm a big champion of is transitional housing for people who come out of recovery. You don't want people who are coming out of inpatient treatment going right back into the existing community around the same people. You have transitional housing, you have a better opportunity to get those people out of the environment that they were in, where they can get job training, they can get back to trying to live a productive life, as opposed to just saying, you're free to go home now, and you go right back to the same environment. There are things that I think we need to look at, like training county employees and making deputy sheriffs, jailers, and others available with Narcan, to reverse opioid-related overdoses. There's an education component. I'm sure that the Board of Education is going to be interested in trying to do something with regard to drug abuse prevention education. So there's a lot of different things that we need to look at. Unite Pike plays a role in that. So I would make a motion to appoint a committee of Commonwealth Attorney as chair, Pike County Attorney or his designee, the judge executive. Which commissioner wants to serve on this?
I probably can, Judge.
Commissioner Ronald Scott, Sheriff Rodney Scott, the Pike County Health Department Director or her designee, Jailer Brian Morris or his designee, Superintendent Reed Atkins or his designee, and a representative of West Care, Unite Pike, and Addiction Recovery Care. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Atkins. And we probably need to try to let everybody know what we've done, Jeannie, contact everybody, see who we want to, and try to set a meeting up for this sometime later this month. All right. We need to do roll call, don't we? All right, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Blackburn,
Yeah.
Judge Jones.
Yes. Next item is adoption of a resolution in support of the Division of Waste Management's Waste Tire Grant in the amount of $4,000 for grant period July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024, and authorization to execute all documents. Sharon will submit the application. Is there a motion to approve or adopt?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Atkins. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Scott. Any question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Blackburn,
Yes.
Judge Jones.
Yes. In your packet, item 5 is an employment agreement. This is the CDL incentive program, which allows new hires and existing employees to participate in Class A CDL driver training. The county pays for the cost of the training. In exchange, the employee has to guarantee that they'll work for 18 months once his or her training is complete. If the employee leaves before his or her minimum time, they would then have to reimburse pro rata the period of time. If the employee is terminated or voluntarily quits, then of course then they're held responsible for the amount of time that they owe us in 1/18th increments. We need CDL drivers in both, from time to time, in solid waste and the road department. And this is a way to help give existing employees a way to move up, from a mini packer driver to a packer driver, so forth. So I would make a motion, and Colonel Downey drafted this contract. I would make a motion to authorize the implementation of the CDL employment contract and the CDL training incentive program as outlined in this contract for future hires as well as existing employees. Was there a second?
I'll second it.
A second by Commissioner Atkins. Any question or discussion about this? Being none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Scott,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Blackburn,
Yes.
Judge Jones.
Yes. Mr. Fan, anything on the bid department? All right. Road Supervisor, Mr. Little, please come on up.
Judge, the first thing I'd like to say is just to tell everybody that we will be paving beginning early Friday morning on the right fork of Cowpen. Now that is up on top of the hill on Cowpen that leads down into Miller's Creek. You go past, but anyway, we'll be paving from the top down to the railroad tracks. Road will be blocked for the biggest part of that day. We have about 450 ton of asphalt to lay. That's the first thing that I would like to, for people to remember, there's alternate ways in and out of there. So try to bypass that for us so we can get in and get out.
Any questions, anything from Mr. Little? Your motion to approve the completed work orders and scheduled work orders for the road department.
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Blackburn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Atkins. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Blackburn,
Yeah.
Judge Jones.
Yes. I noticed in my packet, Gene, what's this right here for? What is that? Sharon, we've got an additional item in here. It's an adoption of resolution in support of a Kentucky Homeland Security Grant Program for emergency communications system rebuild and update, Phase 4. Is that correct? All right. Is there a motion to adopt a resolution in support of a Kentucky Homeland Security Grant Program for Pike County Emergency Communication System Rebuild and Update Phase 4 for Pike County Emergency Management?
Motion.
And authorization to execute all necessary documents by the judge executive.
Second. Yeah.
Yes, but let me finish. Motion by Commissioner.
Atkins, yeah, motion.
Second. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Scott. Any question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Blackburn,
Yes.
Judge Jones.
Yes, Treasurer's business, Mr. Stacy.
Acknowledge receipt of the treasurer's monthly financial statement ending April 30th, 2023.
Is there a motion to acknowledge receipt of the treasurer's monthly statement ending April 30th, 2023?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Atkins. I'll make a second. Any question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Authorize a check to the Kentucky State Treasurer in the amount of $50 for a euthanasia license application fee for Billy Tussey.
Is there a motion to authorize as stated by the treasurer?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Blackburn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Scott. Any question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Authorize a check to Elliott Contracting in the amount of $196,927.20 for construction of the Pikeville Senior Citizen Center. This will be draw number 3. This is passed through CDGB funds.
Is there a motion to authorize a check to Elliott with flow-through money from the CDGB grant fund in the amount of $196,927.20 for the Pikeville Senior Citizens Building?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Atkins. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Scott. Any questions, discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
There were 9 bridges that was bid out on bid number 1 of 2023 for the emergency residential bridge repair. I need authorize a standing order for checks to Bonded Brothers Construction up to the amount of $60,000 for the first 4 emergency bridge repairs that were awarded that were under the bid amount.
That was, I understand, money that's going to be paid by FEMA. It's not going to be paid by us. Is that correct, FEMA?
We have to pay it to the contractor and get reimbursed.
Is this, these are the bypasses, right?
Yes.
Is there a motion to, for a standing order as stated by the treasurer for Bonded Brothers for the 4 emergency residential bridge repairs awarded in bid 01-2023 to be submitted for FEMA for reimbursement?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Atkins. Second by?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Blackburn. Any question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
The other 5 bridge repairs that were above that amount has been signed off by emergency management at the state level that they will fund those for the bid amount. So authorize a standing order for checks up to the amount of $88,096.50 for the other 5 residential bridge repairs bid on bid number 1 of 2023. Sites number 1, 3, 4, and 5 were awarded to Bond Brothers Construction for a total amount of $79,772. And site number 2 was awarded to Justice Mining Services in the amount of $8,324.50.
Is there a motion to authorize as stated by the treasurer?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Scott. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Blackburn. Any question or discussion? Seeing none, Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes. All right. We do have need for executive session. Colonel Downey, please instruct the public on the relevant provisions of the Kentucky open meeting law as it pertains to the entry into executive session.
Judge, under KRS 61.810, paragraph C, you can go in executive session to discuss proposed or pending litigation, and under paragraph F to discuss specific personnel issues.
All right. Is there a motion to enter into executive session?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Scott. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Atkins. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Blackburn,
Yeah.
Judge Jones.
Yes, we'll be in executive session for a brief period of time and return to the call of chair. We need a motion to adjourn from executive session. Is there a
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Atkins. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Blackburn. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Blackburn,
Yes.
Judge Jones.
Yes. It is my motion to acknowledge receipt of the resignation of Joseph Stanley effective 4/7/23. Approval to list David Kidd as a full-time employee at a current rate of pay and job title effective 5/2/23. To approve the termination of Lori Goff effective 4/18/2023. hire Gavin Branham as a seasonal employee at their special road crew at a 2H rate of pay effective 5/3/23. To accept the resignation of Nick Stepp effective 4/29/23. To hire Kimberly Joyce as custodian at the courthouse at a 2H rate of pay effective 5/3/23. And to move Billy Tussey to the interim manager's position at the animal shelter at a 3A rate of pay. We will open that up, Billy, for if you choose to apply for that. We'll open that up to others that may want to apply. You have an opportunity, but as of if this motion passes, you'll be the interim director or manager. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Atkins. Any question or discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Blackburn,
Yes.
Judge Jones.
Yes. All right. Any comments from the department supervisors? I'm gonna make this real short and sweet. Anything from the deputy judge? Anything from the county attorney's office? Anything from the commissioners?
Yeah, I'd just like to say I thank all the workers of the county. It seemed like they're doing a good job, you know. I appreciate all the hard work.
Thank you, sir. Anything else?
Yeah, Judge, did we ever figure out anything for the road foremans to help them on their overtime stuff?
Nope.
Nope.
You got a big disparity because you've got people doing the job and supervising making $15,000 less than the people that's doing the same work that they're supervising. I've talked about some ideas with Reggie that for your salaried employees, maybe a program like after they do 45 hours of salary a week, they would be eligible for their hourly pay from then on. But
Judge, I've talked to several of them, talked to different ones, not just one. I'd like to make a motion, and I believe they'd be satisfied if they got their vehicles to ride home. I mean, honestly, I would, because they're called out all hours of the night. It ain't much difference in the sheriff's department, the jail people riding theirs. They're coming out and working for us for free.
Well, here's what I'm going to say about that. The state highway department doesn't give their employees a vehicle to ride home. It was abused nonstop for years. I straightened this county out financially when we didn't have the money, when we took the take-home vehicles. It's not fair to see a county vehicle sitting in the parking lot at Food City or Walmart. Most people that are listening to this program that pay occupational tax, they don't get a company vehicle to ride home. I don't drive a county vehicle to work every day. I can't tell you the last time I drove a county vehicle. My deputy judge has put tens of thousands of miles on his Suburban, and he's never submitted the first penny of reimbursement. It is an abuse of the taxpayers for this court to give take-home vehicles back. If somebody does a job, then pay him. Because it's not just, when we came in here, we had pickup trucks that Mr. Little will tell you that weren't safe to be on the road. One of the ways we were able to replace those is we have saved hundreds of thousands of dollars over the last 4+ years. Tires, fuel, maintenance, and wear and tear. All you're doing is running mileage up on vehicles, run your fuel bill up. And there's a tax issue here. If you're giving somebody a take-home vehicle, there's probably a tax issue there. So if the court wants to do that, I think it's absolutely an abuse of the taxpayers. If somebody is doing a job, pay them for it. But I'll tell you what's not fair is to give the foreman a vehicle to ride when you ain't giving anybody else a vehicle to ride.
Well, Judge, they do go out while hours of night.
Well, they can also drive just like everybody else to their...
Well, yeah, I ride my vehicle when I buy my gas.
They get called out, but they can drive to the road lot and get their vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Fabian Little's the road supervisor. He don't take a vehicle home. Is there any other county workers take their vehicle home? I don't think there is any. But if we go back to that, we've talked about the good old boy system. That's the good old boy system of giving people. So that way, when the taxpayers see one of these county vehicles sitting at the grocery store, they can thank the court for that. That ain't right. If you're going to pay somebody, pay him. Person does a job, pay him. But letting them run the wheels off our vehicles and run the fuel bill up, And you also expose the county to liability at that point as well, because if they have a wreck off the clock in that vehicle, there's probably any hope of getting sovereign immunities out. All you're doing is wearing your equipment out. And I know exactly who the person is that's wanting their vehicle back. I'm against it. Y'all can vote to do it. We'll see what the public thinks about it. The public don't think it's right for county workers to have, some county workers. Well, Pam manages spending about $50 or $60 million a year through her office. Pam, you got a vehicle? Frankie, he takes care of $74 million. He's here all the time. He don't have a vehicle. I mean, Diane's going all over the county to these senior citizen centers. She don't have a vehicle. I just think it's wrong. And I think that if the court chooses to do that, you all have got the votes to do it if you want to do that. I just think the public is going to be not happy about it. I think the paper's going to call everybody out on it. And I think at the end of the day, it still doesn't help solve a problem when people are not being paid for the work that they're doing. Now, if you can get a second for it, there's a vote on it, that's fine. You all can do that. But, you know, at some point, there's going to be accountability, and I'm going to be for the next 3.5 years sitting here every time we get a fuel bill in that goes up. Well, these trucks gets wrecked, I'm going to start tracking the mileage on them. Next time I see somebody at Walmart or at Food City or out running an errand in them, then I'm going to bring that to your all's attention. It's been abused. It was abused for years. The public, I've never had the first member of the general public say we ought to give the vehicles back. If you want to work and help the road foreman, pay them for the work that they're doing.
I think, Judge, you ought to have one to them.
What's that?
I think you ought to have one to them truck, or if they're working that much overtime, I think you ought to have some money for it. I really do.
Well, that's what I made the motion before. So what I was proposing is if there's a way we could do this, if, say, they work 45 hours a week or 47.5 hours a week on salary, then any time over that, they would be paid their hourly rate.
I think that'd be good.
And that way, I'll tell you what, I'll make a motion. Is there a second to Commissioner Atkins' motion on the vehicles?
Well, let's hear yours first.
My motion will be that any hours that your road foreman work over 45 hours a week, that they will be allowed to be paid their hourly wage as part of the overtime. That equals out the wages. That you're still getting more hours over the week. You're still getting salary hours out of them. That gives you 9 hours a day, 45 hours a week. That gives you 45 hours of salary, but any hours over salary, 45, they would be able to get their hourly wage paid to them. That does more to help their families than giving them a vehicle to drive home.
Can we pass over this to the next meeting?
It's up to you all, whatever you want to do.
What do you think?
Yeah.
You think we ought to wait and see which one they'd other have? You know?
No, I don't think we ought to wait. I don't think it ought to be left up to the rank and file employees to decide if they get a take-home vehicle.
I understand what you're saying.
I think it's an abuse. I think it's an abuse of the taxpayers to give them a vehicle to run around on.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I don't think you ought to write it nowhere but work.
Well, I don't think they ought to be able. I don't think they even ought to be able to do that, because most people that are listening to this program right now, their employers do not give them a vehicle. There's guys, people working in mines all over this county. These coal companies don't give them a truck to drive home. You got school teachers that pay occupational tax all over this county. How many of them does this Board of Education provide a vehicle to? You've got doctors and nurses and people that clean the hospitals and work at the university. How many people at Walmart do they provide vehicles to at Walmart? All those people have jobs too. If you got to be at the hospital to work a 12-hour shift, or you go and work in a nursing home, and it snows or the roads are slick, they still got to be there. They're not getting a vehicle provided to them. But our county workers should be paid well with good benefits, but it's a gimmick, in my opinion, to give 5 or 6 road foremen a vehicle. Now, if that's what the court votes to do, that's fine. There's the votes here to do it. Y'all can make that authorization. But for the next 3.5 years, I'm gonna call people out on it.
Well, if you give them a wage after, are you gonna give them all the same wage, or?
It will be their hourly wage, whatever their salary is they would get that hourly wage. So, if you take, for lack of a better word, if you've got somebody making $50,000 a year as a road foreman, then after the 45 hours, their hourly wage roughly is going to be about 25 an hour. Is that right, Justin? Somebody making $50,000 roughly, the hourly wage is going to be around $25 an hour. So you would give them time and a half for anything over that, based on their hourly wage. Just like a heavy equipment operator, if they work over 40 hours, they're getting time and a half.
Yeah.
And that's fair to everybody. It's fair to all the road foremen. They're getting paid more. But you don't have somebody like Thomas Thacker that's making $15,000 less than the guy that's running heavy equipment that works for him. Yeah, I mean, you got tax comp, so y'all want to get into the.
It's a taxable benefit.
It's a taxable benefit.
It's taxable benefit.
There's an exception to that if it's marked with, like hazard or emergency lights or something like that,
They come out better, get
taxable fringe. Like a sheriff's Tahoe or something like that.
Oh, yeah,
Has emergency lights on it or
you know,
something. Doesn't have to pick it up as a fringe benefit.
Well, our
to you.
county
Other than
road crews
that,
don't
yes.
have, they're not emergency
Whatever y'all
vehicles.
wanna do, but there's a difference in working at Walmart and working and getting called out hours night too, but it's whatever y'all
Well,
wanna do.
it's not that far. If you get called out, you still got to go to the road lot and get your equipment. And if your heavy equipment operator gets called out in the middle of the night, they still got to go to the lot and get the equipment. So what's the difference if your heavy equipment operator has to drive to the lot, or your light equipment operator, or your truck driver?
he has to wait
Weed
for the
blower has
boss
to drive.
anyway, though.
So are we going to give them all a vehicle? I mean, they all have to drive to the road lot to get their equipment. If they got to go cut a tree, they still got to go get the chainsaws. They got to get the excavators. So at what point do you start giving every county, let's give all the jailers, they got to come in here and guard all these inmates. We got bad felons over here, let's give them all a vehicle. At some point, if somebody does the job, pay them for the job they do. But it's a gimmick, in my opinion, to say give them a vehicle to ride home. Now, that's my personal opinion. If there's 3 votes that want to give them, and the people, you all are willing to be accountable to the people when the newspaper and the media calls, and the people going to Walmart in their own vehicle sees a county vehicle sitting there. How's that look?
I would say, Judge, that, if we just give them that pay increase, I believe they'd be happy.
I'd rather have money than a It may be, Roy, that we have to go but if their salary, technically, you don't have to give them any. This is optional pay. We've been kicking this idea around how to do this. But if technically a salary employee doesn't get any overtime, but you've got something that's inherently unfair in the way the county government's structured, is because you only have certain classifications, and normally if you don't have a storm or a flood event, it's not a big deal. But the reason you've had these disparities in the wages is because we had 4 storms in 17 months. If we get lucky, we don't have any more floods or any more storms, which is not likely to happen. Not an issue.
You ain't gonna have all this overtime.
You won't have the overtime. But what the problem is when these same people are out there doing the same job, and one of them's getting overtime and one of them's not, and one of them's making 15,000 more than his boss is making for doing the exact same work. That's just a matter of fairness. That's why I brought it up before. So, to me, giving 5 or 6 people a vehicle don't help you. I mean, are we gonna start giving the solid waste supervisors, or the solid waste foremen? I mean, where do you draw the line on who gets a vehicle and who don't? You know, if there's a water leak and Paul's got to come out to one of these senior citizen centers or fire departments in the middle of the night, I mean, it's worked fine. It saved the county a lot of money. It's restored credibility for county government. It's gone a long way to showing people that we're not abusing the system. The last 3 members of the court didn't have take-home vehicles. They didn't have secretaries. They didn't hire their wives. They didn't rent an office off of themselves. And this court's done the same thing. I think that shows the people that you're not wanting something that average people and expecting them to pay for it. So I just think that when you start going back down that slippery slope of giving people take-home vehicles, it's abused, and it'll, by the end of this term, it'll be unlimited. So I think if there's a way to compensate these guys, whether it's by raising their base pay or coming up with some hybrid plan, there's nothing that I'm aware of for a salaried employee that says that you can't pay bonuses under the Constitution. But there's got to be a way that we can equalize the pay around for the guys who are doing the same work in management roles that you charge with the responsibility that are not being paid. Besides giving them a vehicle, which doesn't, that doesn't help people that are being woefully underpaid. And I'll be quite frank with you. You've got some of your road foremen that work a lot harder than others. You've got some of your road foremen that do a lot better job than others. You've got some of your road foremen that are there every time Fabian calls. I mean, you got some of them that you can't find when you need them. You know how I know that? Because I've tried to call some of them. So treating them all the same, the way I think about it is this. If you got road foremen that want to go out and do the work and work the overtime, then make sure they're taken care of. The ones that only want to do as little as they can to get by, they shouldn't be treated and get the same benefit like a truck that everybody else, as a guy that's there every time you call him and every time you need him. That's the problem with government. Reggie said this many times. There's a lot of people that if we had had the system that the private sector had, would not have kept their jobs, because stuff that you can get by with in government that the private sector would never tolerate.
That's what I asked you before. Why couldn't you just give them a bonus or something? The ones that come out?
Constitution, Commissioner, doesn't allow you to award bonuses.
Yeah, that's what you said, but I mean,
I think it's section 1, don't hold me to this, 177 of the Constitution says that you can't pay bonuses. You would just have to raise the rate or raise the pay. What I'm trying to find is a way, if you don't have overtime because of floods and storms, it's not an issue. The issue comes, am I wrong, Fabian? It's when you got a storm like we had in July and you get $20 million in damage to your county infrastructure, and they're working. Fabian, how many days a week did they work? So, you got people out there doing the job. Some of you did. Is it fair to say that not all the road foremen worked? But the ones that were willing to come out and do the work, they're punished under the current system. That's why I brought this to the court's attention. That's why I had them look at the disparity in the pay. And I think there's got to be a way, because as long as we're meeting wage and hour laws, because technically if they're salary, we don't have to give them anything. But is that right? I don't think it is. So I'm trying to figure out if there's some kind of hybrid plan we could do that with. Got a motion to give the take-home vehicles back. Is there a second this time?
I'd like to think about giving them money. I think the money would, I know if I was boss, I'd rather have money.
They've got
Call me the
families.
money.
I mean, how does giving them a vehicle to drive home help when it comes time to paying their kids' tuition or buying school clothes or paying for, repairs on their car or something? Person does a job, pay him what it's worth, and don't discriminate against them. That's what I've been saying all along. So if there's no second, then the motion is going to die for lack of a second at this time. We can bring it back up at a later time. But Roy and Reggie and Justin can get together and look at this. But I think that you can do some kind of hybrid plan because they're still salary. They're still under salary classification. They're still going to get the salary where they work 36 hours, they work 40 hours. But if they're working extra, there needs to be a way to compensate them.
Will actually fly inside of state and federal. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that we will won't, I just give us a chance. I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying, and, we can check on that. We've been kicking around this idea for a few weeks.
Maybe something next week.
Yeah, let's get us something before the meeting so we can circulate it.
Yes, I mean,
Got a paper, I should.
Yeah, just get the information to Fabian and to Chuck, to all the department heads, because, technically, if you do something for one department, it's got to apply for all of them. So, but I think also that the overtime has to be approved by the road supervisor for the department supervisor. You don't want people just out here trying to pad their payroll. All overtime needs to be approved by the department heads. Because you got to also be careful you don't blow your budget right through the roof too. We need to, Frank, you'll have to, when we figure this out, because here's why. When your pay goes up, your workers' comp premium goes up, your retirement system match goes up, your unemployment taxes go up. What else am I forgetting? Social Security and FICA goes up. So it's not just giving somebody, $35 an hour overtime rate or something. That's going to end up costing you about 60 before it's over with, 55 or 60 when you factor everything in. So we need to put pen to paper to get an idea of what budgetary impact it's going to have. It needs to be simple to track so it doesn't create a nightmare for the folks in payroll too. Frankie needs to be in that group too. Paul, you found something that might apply to this? We know that. That's why they're salary, and that's why they don't get overtime now. We know that. That's why they're not getting overtime now. Question is, can we do something to help with the pay disparity? Because you have hourly workers making substantially more than your salaried employees for doing the same work, when the salaried workers are the ones that have the responsibility for getting it done. So that's what we got to figure out.
They can give us, as to what's the hours that we're talking about, so.
Reggie can help get all that information together, because we pulled the salaries for all the road department employees and the foreman. And there were a couple of the foremen, not all of them, because some of them don't work as much overtime. But you had a couple foremen that were making a lot less. One foreman made 15,000 less than the heavy equipment operator he supervised. He does heavy equipment operator work too. Under no circumstance should that be fair. You do the same job, you're the boss, you're the one with the responsibility for safety, for getting the work done, for taking care of the equipment, and you end up getting paid 15,000 less than somebody that doesn't have anywhere near the responsibility. That's what this county needs to figure out, how to help take care of the people that are doing the job. And so let's get a little working group together next 2 weeks and see if we can figure this out. This is not hard. If it's an hourly worker, you have to pay him the federal time and a half wage, over 40 hours. Salary employees like foremen, road foremen, solid waste foremen, we don't have to do that. But the question is, should we find a way to pay them more, particularly those that do more, that deserve to be compensated? And that's what I'm saying. It ain't a gimmick like giving them a vehicle, which just basically can't be tracked. It doesn't do anything to help the ones that actually do the work. And I'd like, Fabian, for you to get me the number of, get for the court the numbers on the pay disparity so they can actually see which crews are turning in the overtime and which ones didn't. 2 crews, isn't it? Special crew and District 1. Yep. All right, any other business? All right, so one thing I do want to mention is there is a Fish Trap Lake spring cleanup. Volunteers are needed. The Corps of Engineers, in partnership with Pike County Pride, will be hosting a spring cleanup at Fish Trap Lake on Saturday, May 13th. Lunch will be provided. Trash pickers, trash bags, and gloves will be provided. Registration and safety briefing will be at 8:30 to 9 at the shelter at the dam. And the cleanup will be from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. with lunch to follow. I want to thank all the folks at Pike County Pride who have worked hard to clean the county up, Health Department, and the Corps of Engineers. I do also want to mention Diversified Energy had a crew that came out and worked with the Corps for a full day cleaning up limbs and debris on the portion of the property that the county has leased up there for a picnic area. And I want to just say thank you to the folks at Diversified. So again, Fish Trap Lake spring cleanup, Saturday, May 13th. Starts at 9 a.m. Safety briefing starts at 8:30. Lunch will be provided afterwards, and all the supplies will be there. This is usually a pretty good turnout. I'm going to do my best to be there. Encourage everyone that's interested in cleaning this county up to be there. Fish Trap is a beautiful place. We've never realized the potential because of all the trash that comes into it. But we've got folks up there at the Corps of Engineers and with Pike County Pride that are wanting to make this a cleaner, better place. And it goes with what Jerry Atkins is working with on our trail system. You're never going to develop tourism in this county until we clean it up. So one of the things I've asked my officers in the solid waste department is to find out how many citations we have that haven't been served. We got a substantial number of summonses we need to get served, and we've got quite a few cases that are pending in the court system that we need to get with the county attorney's office on to try to move these cases forward. These are charges for illegal littering, dumping, and so forth. And there's no excuse for it. We've got one of the best solid waste systems in Kentucky. So that's my 2 cents. Any other business to come before the court? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn after we do the benediction. William, you want to come up and do a benediction for us, sir?
Let's pray. Father God, we come to you, Lord, and we thank you for the dedication of the members here tonight and everyone's interest in improving the county. Lord, we pray your guidance in how to do that and how to move forward with it, and can hope that we can continue to move forward. Lord, we thank you for all these things. We ask it all in the sweet name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Madam Clerk, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Scott, is there a second? Second by Commissioner Blackburn. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Scott?
Yes.
Commissioner Atkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Blackburn? Judge Jones?
Yes, we are adjourned.